Uh-oh, I've graduated. My feed has radically changed. If I wanted to see something in Tagalog, I used to have to go up, hit, come over here, and hit the button that showed. See this here, Bondamentos? I'd had to hit that little button down there and see where it's lighting up, and I'd have to go through everything that I've chosen to view, and I'd have to go to it. It would not come automatically in my feed. It just wouldn't come. Now, finally, 2 years, hard work. Now, Rafi Tufo comes straight up in my feed. You're saying, who's Rafi Tufo? Well, Rafi and his brothers have been accused of some type of malfeasance in the Philippines, but basically, Rafi Tufo is a senator in the Philippine Senate, and he is like Maury Bufich, or however you say Maury's name, uh, Phil Donahue when he was around. Uh, mm, I mean, he's like the shock jock, the TV shock jock of the Philippines. He covers hard issues. If something happens to you, like government malfeasance, someone does you wrong, then what you want to do is jump on the Rafi Tufo show. Let's see if we can see a little bit of what's going on here.
Ma'am, anong pangalan niyo po? Maricay Jean Ladrera po. Ang inyo pong inireklamo ay isa pong barangay chairman. Po, si Joel De La Cruz po. Saan barangay po siya, ma'am? Barangay Malinaw po. Barangay Malinaw ng Pasig City. Okay, nasabi niyo po sa aming staff na binastos daw kayo ni chairman. Opo, binastos na po. Seryoso po ito na
Okay, so now this Namula, see that Mula, I've seen it several times over the last few days. Namula, raw. So verse 2, I've seen raw, I've seen Namula. I know that Ang is and I've seen Dib Dib and Na Ati. Okay, this is some type of a sister. Ang Sumakant, Ang Cuerda Billa, that's Spanish, Cubuerta, Dahil Sagi Gig Sacheman, Huerita. Something is going on with some money with this barangay chairman. That's as best as I could figure this out. But that should distract you. Now, can you go and translate all of this and get it automatically? Sure, you can. But you're not going to learn it if you always hit that subtitle button and you always hit the translate button. Now, in my case, even if I hit the subtitle button, it is not going to come back with English subtitles, or it's not going to come in Spanish subtitles. It can come on my feed. It can come in Russian subtitles. It can come in Chinese subtitles. It can come in any subtitles. I don't run down to the radio button and say, "Oh, you just put it in these subtitles. Send it in this subtitle." Nope, that's not how it goes. What it's in is what it's in, and I have to understand it what it is in, not what I would prefer it to be. Because when you get out there to that target country, you get immersed, you get into those streets, things are not going to go the way you want them to. So if you have everything the way you want it to, while on your YouTube feed, it's going to be in this and it's going to be like this and it's going to be like that. When you get out there, you're going to be in for a rude awakening. You're going to be in a rude awakening. You're going to land someplace, you're going to be someplace, and you're going to think, wow, everyone over here is speaking this language, everyone over here is doing this, and it's going to be totally different. And then someone's going to point to you, and that person is going to be saying something, and they're going to point to you and they're going to say, what did this person say? And they're going to hold you responsible for what that person says. Like in Mexico, you see a Haitian. Haitians look very much like me. Haitian says something, Mexicans just automatically assume that I'm Haitian. They say, "What did he say?" They hold me responsible for what that Haitian says. So I can't say, "Hey, I'm not Haitian." you know, a bullet can strike you a lot faster than you can get out of your mouth, "I'm not Haitian." You're going to be better off to say, "Hold on, wait." Instead of screaming, "I'm not Haitian," you're going to be better off to say, "Hold on, wait. Let me see if I can figure out what he's saying. I'll tell you." And why would you want to say, "Let me see if I can figure out what he's saying"? Is because if you say, "Let me figure out what he is saying," okay, yo no sé exactamente qué él está hablando, pero espérame. So you say it like that. Now you have an opportunity to separate your conduct and that person's conduct. But if you just automatically start talking about what you're not, that is meaningless to them when they have poor intent. They've already given you an opportunity. What is he saying? They're not saying, "Are you and him the same? Are you and him brothers? Or how do you know him?" They're not saying any of that. They're saying, "What did he say?" You better come up with something. You better know what that other person is saying. I mean, you better go all the way there. You know, you better know something about something. And if you don't, you're gonna suffer some severe consequences. And you can say all you want to. "Well, God, I know Spanish and English. Why do I have to know French too?" Because you look Haitian, or you look Russian, or you look Polish, or you look Filipino, or you look like an Englishman, or you look like an Australian, or you look Chinese, or you look Arabic. That's just the way it is. I mean, the world is not logical. If it were, I would not be here. You would be here because you're a perfectly logical being, but I would not be here. Okay, so for me, this is a day of graduation that I don't have to search and probe around in my feed and smash buttons and this and that and the other. And finally, I graduate to Robbie Tufo. 2 whole years of seeing like Calvin pop up, and seeing expats pop up. I mean, that was really just 2 years of suffering. I mean, and hearing some guy just get everything wrong. Ask him, "Hey, Calvin, what's penal code 202?" "I don't know." "What's penal code 9262?" "I don't know." "What's this?" "I don't know. But I'm boots underground." I mean, what good is that gonna do me? And then you pull a lawyer out there, and the lawyer is on there talking, but the lawyer isn't speaking in Tagalog. What good is that gonna do me? When I know if I go to court in the Philippines, everybody in the court is gonna, the language of the court is in Tagalog. So what good is it gonna do me listening to the lawyer in English? See, that's what these guys are not telling you. I'm gonna say this again. My best friend, he gets hit by a car. He goes to the lawyer. Now he's gonna get a settlement. So I go in with my best friend who speaks Portuguese. I go in with him and translate what's going on between he and the lawyer. Sometime later, I go to the same office, and the lawyers have hired a professional translator to translate for my friend. I don't know why they did that. That was unnecessary. But I'm sitting there and I'm listening to the translation. And the translation was not good. And the reason why is because the professional translator didn't know my friend. So she couldn't read his body language. She couldn't, when he was uncertain about something, about her translation, she couldn't stop. She couldn't meander. She just went straight to a point. And when she got to that point, she stopped. And if he didn't understand past that point, she didn't go any further. Now, when she was looking at the lawyer, and the lawyer was saying something, and the lawyer was saying something in English, if she missed something that the lawyer said, she just rapidly fired right into translation in Portuguese. And what she didn't understand is that the particular lawyer spoke Ukrainian. She thought that that lawyer just spoke English. So she didn't even know that the lawyer was a bona fide multilingual. He probably spoke Yiddish, Ukrainian, English, and maybe even German. He was bona fide. She thought that this guy was just an Anglo legal yokel. No, this guy, he knew about all of the subtleties of translating. He knew about all of the subtleties. And she just didn't do the job well. And we all knew that she didn't do the job well. And we were all polite. So on the way home, after all of this was said and done, I had to reassure my friend and explain to him what was going on. And he was like kind of shocked. He was like, "Well, we're sitting there in the office, and why didn't she say all of this that you're telling me?" He knew what I was telling him was right, but he was saying, like, "Why did she say all of this that she was telling me?" And I let him know I didn't want to stomp on her. I mean, she was getting paid for this. I didn't want to stomp on her and say, "Hey, hold on a second." I mean, because I could. We're driving in the same car back. I could explain it to you on the way home. You know that. you know, as long as she didn't say anything that was vital. I mean, that was just absolutely vital that you had to know. There was no reason for me to interfere. And then he was perfectly satisfied, and the world continued to gyrate. It continued in its orbit. Okay, you know, so you don't need to know every word perfectly. You don't have to spend your time constantly translating. Just when you reach a point in time, like right now, the algorithm of Google is confident that I can handle this. So it's confident that I can read Italian while I'm listening to Spanish while the text below is in French. It's confident that I can handle that. It's confident that I can handle Rafi Tufo. You know, that's how this process works. You got a long life, so you might as well live it. It is unfortunate that there's no permanence in life. I completely understand that. I understand that there's no permanence. You want to, you want a safe harbor. You want to be able to is the term weigh anchors to take it up. You want to be able to drop your anchor someplace in a safe port where there's calm seas. I completely understand that, but that's just not the way the world actually works. If we had a known, and I was listening to DeGrasse Tyson and and the guy who played Morpheus, Lawrence Fishburne, talking yesterday on Star Trek. If we had known that the internet was going to allow us all to communicate, no more Ma Bell, no more, like I used to spend $1,000 to talk to somebody in the Philippines. Okay, so no more expensive calls. Now you can talk to anybody on earth instantaneously. But what they didn't tell us is that there was going to be a real price. It's going to be a real price. See, what Austin Harleman isn't telling you is that back in 1979, 1960, 1940, men were far more adventurous than he was. There's a story of where Hilton travels across the country in a Model T, and he talks about it, and it's an absolute adventure. And there were still like wild Indians out there. There were still wild Indians out there. You know, I went through one city in Texas, and it was talking about where one of the guys established one of the big worldwide hotel chains, and where he established his first hotel was in a gold rush town. This is a little gold rush town, and the population had swelled, and he basically hot bunked. So a guy would come in and he got 12 hours in the hotel room. Then he went to work and he was on his shift. Then another guy would come in, sleep, eat, whatever in the same room for 12 hours, and then he would run off and go back to the gold field. And it just so happened that all of these guys were getting gold, but the guy who wound up to be the wealthiest was the guy who started this particular hotel. He eventually became a billionaire. I forget, I forgot exactly which hotel it was, but in a little West Texas town, everybody knew the story, and they told it. Oh, I know where it was. It was Cisco, Texas. That's where it was. Which now nobody even knows what Cisco, Texas is. But that was the place where a guy paid millions and millions of dollars, launched one of the largest hotel chains in the world. But the key to this is, and what I'm saying is that who would have known that the internet actually was going to be absolutely so demanding? Who would have known that? I mean, I had no idea that it was going to be this demanding, that it would require you to every day learn something new, not just like um, how tall is the Eiffel Tower or how tall is the Empire State Building, but something that absolutely is substantive. I had no idea. Let's listen a little bit of Rafi, and I'm going to get outside and get in the run and all that sort of business.
Ang reklamo, lalo po sa isang politiko. Sigurado ako si Chairman, i-deny po yan. Meron ho ba kayong ebidensya? Po, naniyaya po nila ako mag-inom ni Admin Noel Mabayad. Sekretary daw po niya yun eh.
Nasa studio po natin ngayon si Maricar. Nirereklamo niya ang isang barangay chairman dahil minarest daw po siya.
Look at what this is said. A onde só tetelege disposer pas pour este video in French. And what it's saying is that, hey, buddy, you're not getting any subtitles. You're going to have to go this alone. See? So now, they're not babying you. They're not babying you. You want to be babied, go and listen to those expats. They're going to try and tell you, all you got to do is find the 89-pound Google translator that you can trust. And these men that are full grown adults are putting their trust in the hands of people that are 20, 30, sometimes 40 years their junior, and they don't even know what those people are saying. I'll never forget. I'm in Naga City, and I'm with an Australian guy. And this Australian guy had become a multimillionaire in Australia, buying and selling used cars or something of that sort. And he was attracted to Filipinas, but he really liked Anglo looking Filipinas. And there are a lot of Anglo looking Filipinas because maybe a Catholic priest was in the area at some particular point in time and he pulled a Genghis Khan. And so now everybody looks like the Catholic priest and all of the descendants, because in Asia, 60% of the time someone's marrying their cousin. So now everybody looks alike. So we run into one of these villages where all of the women basically look like they're Australian. So he sees this incredibly beautiful girl. She's maybe 19, 20 years old. I gotta hand it to him. This girl was extraordinarily beautiful, impeccably beautiful. So she's attracted to him, he's attracted to her. But she wants to go up into the mountains and see Lolo and Lola because she's got to get their approval or wants them to meet the Australian guy. So we're going up there. No jeepney, no nothing. And man, you know what? It's a long hike up there. And this guy he's old, so he doesn't have the fitness level to get up there. But he's chugging along. He's chugging along. And it's hot. He gets up there and he sees Lolo and Lola, and he's older than them. So Lolo and Lola ask him, they say, "Hey, how old are you?" And he says, "Oh, I'm 45." And so the Lola, and I can kind of understand what they're saying, but the girl I was with translated. And the Lola says to the Lola, she said, my marami sakit si 45 años. She basically said that you have been sick your entire life. If you have 45 years, that's what she said. So now I can't laugh. The girl I'm with, she can't laugh. And the really beautiful girl, she can't laugh either. So the girl that I'm with, she has to translate what's being said to this guy. And she's like really stumbling and fumbling with this translation because this is kind of sensitive. you know? And so the guy, the Australian guy, he's quick with it and he comes back with a really clever lie that's explaining his physical condition where he's actually looking like twice 45. And so he's got to explain away how he wants to be in a relationship with their 19-year-old granddaughter, and the grandparents were not older than 50. So this whole thing was scandalous. It was all written off as a get rich quick scheme, and that's what these guys don't tell you. What's a Filipina get rich quick scheme? Okay, you marry the oldest guy that you possibly could marry that's willing to take out a term life insurance policy or is willing to have a child with you as soon as possible and run down to the embassy and put the child on its government pension. See, and you're watching all of these expats, and they're like, "Oh no, this is sincere," blah 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 blah. But I'm sitting here, and this is in the 1980s, so this was long before the internet and all of this stuff got mechanized. I'm sitting here, and and I know enough of the language at this point that I'm listening to the people saying this. I'm hearing the grandparents ask the girl, does he have a pension? Can you get on the pension? Can you have a baby soon? Will he die soon? They're asking all of this right then and there. These are all of the qualifying questions. And so then I come and I finally got the internet age where there's no mail order system anymore. And now I got to sit here and watch these insufferable idiots try and convince you that none of what I just told you is a reality. And if you bring it up in their comment section, what they're going to say is, well, times have changed. Times have changed. That's not how it is now. Okay, so I've graduated to Rafi Tufo. That's great for me. You may not care, but for me, that's good. That means that when someone is scamming me, I can say, hold on, wait. I don't care what you say in English. What I want you to do is I wanted you to write it to me in Tagalog. You write it out. Write it out in Tagalog. Now, you're going to say, why do you want them to write it out in Tagalog? Because if they write it out in Tagalog, that means that they're linguistically competent. That's what you want to know. You want to know their competency in the language that they use on a day-to-day basis. You'll find a lot of people that can speak Spanish, speak Portuguese, speak English, but they're not linguistically competent. And if you do business with those two people and anything has to occur in writing, it's going to be costly. So you want to make sure that they're linguistically competent. That's first. In their primary used language. I didn't say their native language. I'm saying that the language that they use day to day most often. Make sure that they are competent. Now, once you determine their competence, now you can do business with them. Not their spoken competence, their written competence. Now you can do business with them. See, now, are Filipino expats going to tell you that? No. They don't give a damn whether the girl is competent in the language that she uses every day. If she's not competent in written language, in the language that she uses every day, how can she competently translate? Because there are times where you've got to say to the person, what did you say? Could you write out what you said? And then you have to go and parse that verb. You have to check that etymology. You have to make sure that everything in that string matches. So you need competence. Well, I've graduated for Ralphie Tufo. So I'm going to be dead pretty quick. And hopefully I can get this before I kill over. Austin Holloman's bucket list is to travel and see, every little spot on earth. And it doesn't matter if he's standing on top of Mount Everest and, he's just completely ignorant of what's going on around him. The Sherpas are talking, blah, 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 Nepalese. The Sherpas are talking Nepalese all around him, and he doesn't care because the only thing on his bucket list is a damn location. I want to climb up this mountain. That's the only thing on his bucket list. If Edward Hillary had not have been able to talk to those shepherds in Nepalese, Edward Hillary never would have made it to the top of Mount Everest. If Christopher Columbus was not plurilingual, he never would have been able to leave sailors on the island of Hispaniola with any confidence. None. See? If Hernan Cortez hadn't have had, like, you got the Malinche, but the Malinche did not talk directly to Hernan Cortez, which everyone thinks. Hernan Cortez talked to a Spaniard who was plurilingual, who had learned the Indian languages to the south of Mexico. So he didn't talk to her directly. That's what people just don't understand. So that Spanish guy that Hernan Cortez was talking to, he had every part of his self intellectually bolted on straight. The Malinche, she was gifted. But that Spanish guy, he was far more gifted. Okay, so here's the thing. I've graduated to Rafi Tufo. I'm going to pat myself on the back. You need to know before you go. You're a lot safer to sit here in the confines of your home, your hotel room, your apartment, whatever the case may be, and come to a grasp of these languages over the internet with the help of AI than to be running around trying to run out into them streets and trying to learn out there. It's bad enough when people see you and assume that you're a gringo. People see you and assume you're a gringo. And then when you open your damn mouth and confirm it. See, like I say, yo no soy un gringo, yo soy un gavacho. See, that's the difference. In Mexico, gavachos are tolerated. Gringos are held in disdain. It's like you go to somebody's house. And at this house, everybody takes their shoes off. And they got a sign up at the front of the house. Hey, you enter into the house, you take your shoes off. But you can't read the sign. So you keep your shoes on. Now the poor guy's wife, or he's wiping all of the mud off the floor, this, that, and other, because you've tracked in all of this mud. Or maybe even, they got an unfinished cement or something out there, and you track cement in and wrecked the tile on his floor when he said, take your shoes off at the door, but you can't read the sign. Okay, the guy isn't going to want you back in his house. He'll invite anybody into his house that could read the sign, but he's not going to let you back in there because he knows that you are going to disregard any of his wishes because you're going to be ignorant of them. And he knows that you took absolutely no time to learn anything about him before you got there. So it's going to be a hostile relationship. And I see it all the time where it's a hostile relationship simply because the person who came to the other country took absolutely no time to learn anything. Know before you go.